They say secrets don't last forever, and in Hollywood, the truth always finds a microphone. For years, fans have whispered about one of the biggest mysteries in pop culture. Did Beyoncé really give birth to Blue Ivy herself, or did someone else carry that baby for her? Now, Jaguar Wright has come forward claiming she knows the truth, and that truth could shake the entire Carter empire. According to her, Beyoncé's so-called pregnancy was a staged illusion, and the woman who allegedly carried Blue Ivy was a Hollywood insider named Kathy White, a woman whose story ended far too soon. The details are unsettling. Talk of hospital lockdowns, million-dollar deals, and a witness who never got to speak. But that wasn't the whole story, because Jaguar says what happened to Kathy wasn't coincidence at all. If she's right, this isn't just about one child's birth. It's about how far the industry will go to protect an image, and what happens to anyone who dares to expose it. Coming up, we dig into the moment this rumor started, the footage that fans still can't explain, and why the name Kathy White keeps haunting Beyoncé's legacy.
And how about this? And this is the most disgusting one. Beyonce is going to use a surrogate so she can maintain her body. I don't believe that one. Well, here's one that's even more disgusting than that. They're adopting, but they're going to play it off like it's allegedly, you know, like they gave birth. I don't know, but I can. Okay, now you remember I was the first one to say this. And you remember, because wait, no, wait, I haven't said it yet. Watch. It's going to be an at-home water birth in the master bathroom. There are going to be 3 people there. Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and her mother, Miss Tina.
Back in 2011, Beyoncé's pregnancy was supposed to be her most beautiful moment, but instead, it became one of Hollywood's biggest mysteries. When she appeared on an Australian talk show called Sunday Night with Molly Meldrum, fans noticed something strange. As Beyoncé went to sit down, her baby bump seemed to fold, almost like it deflated. That clip spread everywhere. People froze the frame, zoomed in, and asked the same question. How can a real baby bump bend like that? At first, it sounded ridiculous. Maybe it was the fabric, maybe just the camera angle, but the internet wasn't convinced. Mothers around the world said it didn't add up. Even Wendy Williams went viral for saying she didn't believe Beyoncé was pregnant. She described how no woman that far along could sit that way without discomfort.
When I would get out of the bed and sit up at a kitchen table, I wouldn't be able to sit like that. Like, I was so concerned about my back and the baby. Even at 5 months, you know, I sat like this, right?
Suddenly, what was supposed to be a happy announcement turned into a global guessing game. Still, Beyoncé brushed it off, calling the rumors crazy and hurtful. She said she'd never fake something as sacred as motherhood. Her calm response made some fans believe her again for a while, but others couldn't let it go. They pointed out how fast her belly seemed to grow, how carefully her team controlled photos, and how protective she became of every detail. And then came whispers of a hospital lockdown, security guards, and missing footage from that night, hints that maybe Beyoncé's story wasn't as picture-perfect as it seemed. But that wasn't the end of it, because what came next took the rumor from gossip to something far darker. When Blue Ivy was finally born in January 2012, what should have been a moment of joy turned into a moment of confusion. Reports started pouring in from Lenox Hill Hospital in New York, and what people described didn't sound like any normal delivery. Entire floors were sealed off, nurses were told to leave their posts, new parents claimed they weren't allowed to see their own newborns for hours. Some said hallways were locked down as if the president himself had arrived. According to multiple witnesses, security guards in suits filled the building. Elevators were blocked, visitors were turned away, and the reason? Beyoncé and Jay-Z had allegedly paid over $1.3 million for total privacy. Even staff members later admitted that cameras in some areas were turned off, something rarely done in a hospital setting. Parents who tried to complain were reportedly told to stay calm and respect the Carters' privacy. But the story didn't sit right with anyone.
We all know that Blue Ivy came from a surrogate. They shut that hospital down like a president had just been. And parents who had just had children themselves weren't even allowed to see their own kids for 24 hours because of the security that was locking that whole thing down.
$1.3 million is alleged that Beyonce and Jay-Z, the Carters, paid this hospital to have the right to have their baby there in complete secrecy and privacy.
Okay, so do we know if the surrogate was alive?
They typically turned some of the cameras off so that there was no pictures that were being taken.
For fans, this was the moment when the surrogate theory went from gossip to suspicion. Why would a couple need that level of secrecy for a simple birth? Why were so many witnesses silenced? And why did Beyoncé leave the hospital without a single candid photo? Not even one nurse selfie in a world obsessed with social media. Lenox Hill later denied shutting down the hospital, claiming everything was exaggerated, but too many people had similar stories. One new father told the New York Daily Daily News that his family was forced out of the waiting room by bodyguards. Another said security covered hallway cameras with tape. It sounded less like a birth and more like a covert operation. By the time the couple left with baby Blue, the internet was already on fire. Every outlet from TMZ to the Daily Mail wanted answers. Fans said the hospital was hiding something. Beyoncé's defenders said it was just star-level protection. But that wasn't the whole story, because soon, a woman's name started surfacing online. A woman some believed was the real mother of Blue Ivy. Not long after the hospital rumors broke, a new name entered the story: Kathy White. At first, she was just another face in Hollywood's endless web of publicists and insiders, but then whispers began linking her directly to the Carters, and that changed everything. Kathy wasn't a random bystander. She was a fitness and PR professional who worked with several well-known celebrities in Los Angeles. People described her as vibrant, smart, and connected, the kind of person who could move through the industry without drawing attention. That is, until a leaked photo surfaced. In it, Jay-Z, Diddy, and Kathy were seen partying together in Las Vegas, looking far too comfortable for strangers. That picture became the spark that lit the fire. Rumors claimed that Kathy wasn't just part of the circle, she was allegedly Jay-Z's mistress. And when Blue Ivy's timeline was compared to Kathy's disappearance from the public eye, conspiracy theorists swore it all lined up too perfectly. According to some reports, Kathy was pregnant around the same time Beyoncé announced hers. Others pointed to alleged messages and sightings that placed Kathy near the Carters during that period. But here's where things took a darker turn. Kathy White never got to tell her side of the story. Just days after reportedly agreeing to go public with a journalist, she was found dead in her apartment at only 28 years old. The official cause? A sudden brain aneurysm. No history of health problems, no warning signs, just gone. Journalist Liz Crokin, who was in contact with Kathy at the time, later revealed that Kathy had planned to expose her alleged affair with Jay-Z and possibly reveal more about Beyoncé's mysterious pregnancy. When news of her death hit, Liz said it felt too convenient. Many agreed.
Under the impression that she was very strongly considering talking to me and telling me her story about her affair with Jay-Z. So a few days go by and I'm following up with her, I'm calling her, and I can't get a hold of her. And I believe that this went on for a few days. And it was just really weird because she always answered her work phone. I thought it was really strange that she wasn't answering her phone. She was MIA. I didn't know what the deal was. So I ended up reaching out to one of her colleagues. And when I finally got hold of one of her colleagues, they told me that she's dead. And I said, what? And she said, yes, she's dead. And I said, well, what do you mean she's dead? What happened to her? This is just a beautiful, young, seemingly healthy 28-year-old woman. I was told that she didn't have any health issues, and it was very shocking to hear. And her colleague did not know what happened to her or how she died or why she died, but all she knew is that she was dead. So obviously when I heard this, it was very troublesome and disturbing to find out that this woman who possibly was going to give me an exclusive story on her affair with one of the most powerful rappers in the world, that's very disturbing, and it certainly is very convenient for Jay-Z, isn't it, that she died.
For conspiracy watchers, that sealed it. The narrative shifted. Kathy wasn't just a name anymore. She became a symbol, a key piece in the puzzle of Blue Ivy's true origins. And according to Jaguar Wright, her death wasn't random, it was a message. But the real shock came when Jaguar started connecting Kathy's story to other women who'd allegedly tried to speak out about the Carters, and didn't live long enough to finish. By the time Jaguar Wright spoke up, the rumor had already aged like wildfire. But she didn't just repeat the old whispers, she reignited them with bold new claims. Jaguar said outright that Beyoncé never carried Blue Ivy, and that Kathy White was the woman who did. According to her, everything from the pregnancy timeline to the hospital lockdown was part of a carefully crafted illusion. Jaguar alleged that Beyoncé's team orchestrated the entire thing, from the fake baby bump during the infamous Australian interview to the over-the-top secrecy at Lenox Hill. She even claimed that the hospital was paid over $1.3 million, not just for privacy, but to erase any trace of the surrogate's presence. In Jaguar's telling, cameras were turned off, floors were cleared, and all staff were sworn to silence under non-disclosure agreements. agreements. It wasn't a birth, she said, it was a cover-up. She also brought up chilling timing details. According to her, Kathy White's pregnancy matched the exact months Beyoncé's baby bump appeared in public. Jaguar insisted that when Beyoncé staged her interview appearance, Kathy would have been in her second trimester, a claim that made the infamous folding belly clip feel even more suspicious. To the general public, it sounded outrageous, too wild to believe. But in the world of celebrity gossip, timelines matter, and in this case, the math lined up a little too neatly. When Blue Ivy was born, Kathy had already disappeared from the spotlight. Not long after, she was gone entirely. Even some Beyoncé fans couldn't deny that something strange was going on. Why did Beyoncé's belly change shape so drastically in photos? Why were there no candid hospital moments? Why did Jay-Z seem unusually tense in interviews during that period? Still, Beyoncé denied every claim, calling it hurtful and offensive. She said she'd never fake something as sacred as motherhood.
There are actually a lot of people that believe this rumor, and it's crazy. I guess there are some crazy celebrities in the world, so we get a bad rep. But to think that I would be that vain, and I respect mothers and women so much, and to be able to experience bringing a child into this world, if you're lucky and fortunate enough to experience that, I would never ever take that for granted. I mean, it's the most powerful thing you can ever do in your life.
Yet Jaguar doubled down, claiming that what the world saw wasn't just vanity, but damage control. According to her, Beyoncé used a surrogate because she couldn't carry children naturally, a struggle she supposedly hid to protect her brand of perfection. To this day, no concrete proof has ever surfaced. But for conspiracy theorists, the lack of evidence only deepened the mystery, because when a story involves that much power, money, and silence, proof tends to disappear fast, and Jaguar wasn't done. Her next revelation dragged Jay-Z deeper into the storm, and connected this rumor to a much darker pattern. Jaguar Wright didn't stop at Kathy White. She claimed Kathy's story was part of a disturbing pattern, a chain of women who allegedly got too close to the truth about Jay-Z or Diddy and then mysteriously vanished, went silent, or lost their lives. To her, it wasn't coincidence, it was cleanup. She pointed to Kim Porter, the longtime partner of Diddy, who passed away in 2018 under what her family called suspicious circumstances. Officially, it was pneumonia. But those who knew Kim, including her ex, Al Bisher, said she was healthy, happy, and just days away from allegedly telling her story about the industry's darkest secrets. Al publicly hinted that Kim didn't simply pass. He claimed she warned him to watch his back right before her death. Jaguar tied that directly to Kathy White's fate. Both women, she said, had one thing in common. They knew too much about the Carters and Diddy's world. Kathy had reportedly told a journalist she was ready to expose her relationship with Jay-Z. Kim, according to Jaguar, was about to open up about what she'd seen inside the music empire. Both ended up gone, both stories buried. Then Jaguar made it personal. She claimed she herself was attacked after refusing to stay quiet about what she knew, even saying she had scars from being cut by a box cutter during a confrontation linked to Sean Carter. They all play the same game, she said. You talk, you disappear, you stay quiet, you thrive.
Sean Carter is just as bad as the diddler. And I know that for a fact. I got the scars to prove it. Want to know what a box cutter feels like going into your skin and ripping you? I can tell you how it feels. Y'all ain't seen shit. That Cassie that's nothing. I'm saying Sean Carter remembers everything he did to me, and he's got it on tape. Just like Diddy. It's gonna be the women that get him in the end.
To fans and gossip followers, the pattern became hard to ignore. Aliyah, gone young. Kim Porter, gone before her tell-all. Kathy White, gone before she could speak. All allegedly connected to powerful men at the top of the music industry. The more Jaguar talked, the more people saw the same outline. Women close to power suddenly erased, their stories dismissed as conspiracies before anyone could verify them. For some, it was too wild to believe, but others argued that Hollywood has always operated on silence, a place where image comes before integrity, and those who break the code often don't get a second chance. Jaguar's warning was clear. These women didn't just fade away, they were silenced, and as her claims resurfaced, the question grew louder. How many more names have been buried under the weight of fame and fear? Jaguar Wright didn't just accuse Jay-Z and Beyoncé of keeping secrets, she painted them as architects of control, two people who allegedly learned how to manipulate fame like a weapon. According to her, their power moves weren't just about money or chart positions. They were about image, influence, and silence. She claimed Jay-Z's climb to the top wasn't as clean as fans believed. In Jaguar's version, Jay-Z's success came through elimination and leverage, aligning himself with the right people, and allegedly removing the ones who stood in his way. From the death of Biggie Smalls, which she suggested opened the door for Jay's reign, to the sudden downfall of rivals who crossed him, Jaguar argued that his empire was built on strategy and fear. Jay don't compete, he replaces, she once said. And if you're in his lane, you disappear or you submit. Then she she turned her focus to Beyoncé, calling her the queen of illusion. Jaguar accused her of maintaining a flawless image through manipulation of the media, of fans, even of other artists. She claimed Beyoncé allegedly stole songs, blocked careers, and used her influence to bury damaging stories. The surrogate rumor, according to Jaguar, was just one example of how far the Carters would go to protect their brand. They don't sue because discovery would open the vault, she said, implying that legal action could force hidden truths into the public record. Others in the industry have whispered similar things for years, that the Carters' reach runs deep in Hollywood and the music world. Producers have hinted about projects that suddenly vanished after clashing with their team. Singers have spoken off-record about moments when their careers hit mysterious roadblocks after competing with Beyoncé. To some, it looks like coincidence. To others, it feels like quiet control. Even Beyoncé's carefully curated public image, the perfect wife, the devoted mother, the untouchable superstar, feeds into Jaguar's point. In her words, perfection is the best disguise. She argued that what fans see is the performance, not the person, and that every time someone threatens to pierce that illusion, something happens to keep the story contained, whether people believe her or not. Jaguar's claims tap into a truth that Hollywood watchers can't ignore. In an industry built on image, control is everything. And if even half of what she says is true, the Carters might be playing a game that goes far deeper than music or fame, a game where power itself is the prize. But Jaguar didn't stop there. She warned that what's hidden always comes to light, and her next revelation, she said, would shake the Carters' empire to its core. The moment Jaguar Wright dropped her latest round of claims, the internet caught fire. Hashtags about Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Kathy White started trending across X, TikTok, and YouTube. Some users dismissed it as another wild conspiracy, but others said it finally connected dots that had been hiding in plain sight for over a decade. On TikTok, creators began posting side-by-side photos of Blue Ivy and Kathy White, claiming the resemblance was too close to ignore. Others revisited old footage from Beyoncé's 2011 interviews, zooming in on that infamous folding belly moment. One clip got millions of views overnight, with comments like, "That bump didn't move right," and "Y'all laughed at Wendy Williams, but she was right." Meanwhile, Beyoncé's fans, the Bayhive, went into full defense mode. They flooded Jaguar's pages, calling her delusional, jealous, and attention-hungry. "People been dragging B for 20 years and still can't find proof," one user wrote. Another added, "You can say a lot about her, but she moves with class. Y'all just mad she's untouchable." But what surprised people most wasn't the fans. It was the silence from Beyoncé's camp. No public statement, no cease and desist, no legal action. For Jaguar's supporters, that silence spoke volumes. They argued that if the story was completely false, the Carters' legal team would have buried it immediately. Instead, Beyoncé did what she's always done: say nothing, post nothing, and let the internet eat itself alive. Conspiracy channels and gossip blogs seized the moment. Videos with titles like "Blue Ivy's Real Mother Exposed" and "The Secret Beyoncé Couldn't Hide" exploded in popularity. Some even connected this rumor to the Kim Porter and Diddy cases, weaving it into a broader narrative about powerful elites silencing truth-tellers. Still, a few journalists and insiders urged caution. They reminded viewers that most of Jaguar's claims come without evidence, relying on timelines, coincidences, and emotion. But in the world of online gossip, receipts aren't always the currency. Believability is. And that's what makes this story dangerous. Whether true or not, it hit a nerve with audiences already skeptical of Hollywood's polished image. To them, Jaguar's words didn't sound like madness. They sounded like a confession the industry wasn't brave enough to make itself. By the end of the week, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a rumor anymore. It had become a movement, a collective questioning of everything fans thought they knew about fame, image, and power. And in that chaos, Jaguar had managed to do what few ever could: make the world look at Beyoncé and Jay-Z, and for the first time wonder what might be hiding behind the shine. As the dust settled, one thing became clear. This story wasn't just about who birthed Blue Ivy, it was about how easily truth can disappear when power steps into the room. Whether people believe Jaguar Wright or not, her claims reopened a wound the industry never truly healed: the line between image and reality in celebrity culture. For over a decade, Beyoncé has been the symbol of perfection, flawless, disciplined, untouchable. But perfection has a price. Every rumor, every silence, every unanswered question now feels like a shadow following her success. If the surrogate story is real, it means the woman celebrated for divine motherhood may have built that image on illusion. And if it isn't true, it shows how far the world is willing to twist anything to tear down its idols. Jaguar calls it the legacy of the lie, not because she knows the truth, but because the lie, once born, never dies. It passes from one gossip cycle to the next, growing stronger with every repost and reaction. And now, even if Beyoncé's camp spoke up, the public might not care. The mystery has become the story. In the end, this isn't just about Beyoncé, Kathy White, or Blue Ivy. It's about the way fame turns people into myths, where lies feel real and truth becomes optional. And in that world, silence isn't peace, it's power.